Praise the Lord, everybody.
Hallelujah.
I guess it's a wonderful Sunday. I guess you had a beautiful time in church today. If you didn't go to church, I'm sure you had a time.
You missed.
Maybe doing one or three together, but you also understand that if you didn't go to church, you actually miss a class. You miss a class.
Yeah.
Because for me, church is a class, it's a school. And people who go to lectures hardly miss classes. Well, it's okay. It's a beautiful new month, the month of August. I want to believe that what we'll be talking about today will matter so much to you. Well, there are too many things to actually talk about when it comes to true talk. Today we want to look at a very important topic. Well, when it actually comes to marriage, we want to look at very important topic in marriage today. And I know it will help quite a lot of us. There are people, like some of us will be married for 20 years. Some have been married for 30, 40. Well, it doesn't, the years of marriage actually do not remove a lot of things that have not been dealt with. And I believe that it is necessary to deal with some topics because marriage is like a school where we learn continually. Some of us probably are still in primary 1. I don't know. There are some who are in primary 3. There are some who are possibly in secondary school. Anyhow, we are all in school and we are learning every day. We have been learning each other, and by the help of the Holy Spirit, by the help of God and wisdom, we have lived together, and some of you who are going to be watching have also gone through living together in spite of all. So this morning we want to take a look at
Secrecy in marriage.
Well, secrets or secrecy
In marriage.
in marriage. We want to take a look at secrecy in marriage. I think is one thing that partners and couples should deal with. We've heard a lot of stories, and actually some of those stories prepared these discussions that we want to have today. The story we heard recently of a man who was on his dying bed, and he died because his wife could not access his phone. His wife could not access his ATM cards. His wife doesn't know the PIN and whatever. So there was no way she could access resources to save her husband. And the man died with his secrets. Well, secrecy is something. Because when you marry somebody, it's expected that, according to the scripture, the Bible said they were both naked. I expect that when you marry somebody, sometimes age, the issue of age has to also be done away with, because the day you marry a lady, by there's an English to speak in that stead, all things be equal, you actually become age mates. That is what I think it should be. So talking about secrecy in marriage, I think is one of the dangerous factor why a lot of marriage are not progressing today, and we want to address it. So wherever you are, if you have comments, please, you are free to make those comments. If you have questions, you are free to ask those questions. My name, once again, is Apostle Ben Stephen Ogidi Asehame, and this is my wife. Your name, huh?
Amaka Stephen Ogidi.
Well, she's Amaka Stephen Ogidi. You know, when you sound that, Some people will say, Ben, Stephen, I say Hame, where you should know where I'm from. And my wife is from Imo State, cross-cultural marriage. And that is one thing that I believe unites people. And we have been able to build upon our relationship for quite some time. And now we have a little bit of lessons to teach other people after 20 years of marriage. So let's look at secrecy. First of all, what is a secret?
What's a secret? Well, I think a secret is something you cannot share with anybody. That's what a secret is. Something only you knows. You are not willing, and nobody is permitted to know it. That's a secret.
All right. Okay, secrecy in marriage, meaning that either a husband is keeping information away from his wife, or his wife is keeping information away from the husband. And most times, keeping information has other tones. There are always reasons why people keep information. And these things has a way of destroying the foundation of marriage and relationships. So let's take a look at them today. We have about 5 reasons why we should not keep secrets in marriage. If I say this, I know some people will react, but anyhow, we have to say it. The truth has to be spoken. Now, I was trying to look for a scripture that can help us discuss this matter. And I found in Colossians chapter 3, verse 19, the Bible said, "Thou shalt not lie to one another." It could actually be interpreted, say the truth to one another. Do not keep secrets to one another. For the day you got married, you are not just two anymore, according to scriptures. You are now one. And if you have secrets you are keeping, it's actually detrimental. It's debasing. It destroys the fabric of your unity, of your oneness, and your trust. So let's take a look at a few of these things so that it will help you and I to keep our marriages.
Okay, the first reason we're going to be talking about is keeping secrets is being dishonest. Anybody who keeps secrets from your partner, we're not talking about some other person. We're talking about you and your husband. If you keep secret from your spouse, your wife, and your husband, it means you're being dishonest.
Wow, this is interesting. I want to put a smile on my face, because sometimes when we deal with these matters, we are not only talking to you, we are also talking to ourselves.
Sure.
Because when we come to a class, even the lecturer that teaches us somehow learn from the things he teaches. Any man who teaches that does not learn from whatever he teaches is not ready to teach others. You cannot mentor people for what you have not mentored yourself. So keeping secrets from yourselves, we just know that it is dishonest. You are dishonest means you probably cannot be trusted. But how do we cope with this? That you keep secret from your wife, especially when at the end of the day, whatever secret you are keeping is probably blown open somewhere. You know, you have a secret girlfriend and your wife doesn't know, and one day a friend of your wife sees you with this secret girlfriend and call your wife and say, I saw your husband with this woman, and they were boogieing, and trouble starts. I am not against people who try to have harmful relationships. You can actually be a friend to people, but let that friendship be communicated. Let it be communicated. And if that communication is done, I'm sure you will less have issues with your spouse. If for a venture, a lady start calling your phone, and if you don't have any secret you are keeping, I'm not sure that, I don't find any reason why you should not pick your pick somebody's call, your spouse's, or pick somebody's call in the front of your spouse and discuss with the person that is calling you. It is sometimes when we have secrets to keep that your phone will ring and you stand up and run into the toilet or into the bedroom so that the person, your spouse, will not know exactly what you are talking. I don't see any reason why you should not tell your spouse, I met this girl yesterday and this is what we discussed and this is the business we want to do. So if peradventure she's calling my phone, you should know that this person is calling for these reasons. So I think keeping secret actually depicts dishonesty.
Okay. I'd like to ask a question here. And I'd like to ask you a question. The fact that maybe your spouse goes about his normal activities, goes out, comes in, and do not discuss with you, does it mean your spouse is keeping secrets? It's a question I would like you to answer.
Is it for me or for those who are watching?
For those who are
watching.
Those who are
watching, that's a question for you.
Please leave your comments underneath.
If I may say something briefly about that before you, just a little tip about it. I feel that we should all learn to talk to each other. That is what I feel.
I agree with you.
We should all learn to, you may not be able to explain everything, but at least give a little picture. When you come back from where you went to and certain things happen, your wife should be your best friend, and your husband should also be your best friend.
Certainly.
So I think that that is my own perception about it. Now, there's no reason to ever keep anything. Say it, except there's an hidden agenda or something is wrong somewhere. I believe that you may not be able to say everything, but just say something. Those peradventure, the man steps out, or the woman steps out, and somebody said, I saw your wife in the supermarket. Why she didn't tell you she was going to supermarket and all that? These are things we should learn to be communicative. Learn to communicate. There's no big deal about it. You'll say, oh, I'm going to market, and then something came up while you are in the market and you need to go to somewhere. Pick up your call your husband, or send a text, or send a WhatsApp. At least communication is very simple now. Send a WhatsApp, honey. I went to the market. I know you are aware that I went to the market, but I met a friend, and this is an old friend, and we started gisting, and I need to know our house. And our house is not too far away from us, so I decided to check in there. I might be spending about 5 minutes or 10 minutes with that. That's okay. Communication, so that at the end of the day, I say, you went to market and you are coming back by 4 o'clock after just 5 hours. How can you go to market for 6 hours? No, because you didn't communicate. If you did, then there will be perfect understanding between both of you.
Okay. The second one is time. You see, keeping secrets destroys marriages. And you know, if you do not learn to talk, the more you keep the secret, the more longer you keep the secret, the harder it is for you to talk about it, to tell your spouse. Maybe you went out and something happened, and you came back, you didn't say it to your spouse. You know, the more the time passes, the more difficult it is for you to be able to talk about it, especially if it is something that is very major. There are things that are major. There are things, when it comes to marriage, there are things that you must talk about. And so if you refuse to talk about it, your spouse wasn't there when the thing happened, or whatever it is. If you do not talk about it, as time passes by, it becomes more difficult, especially when you are particularly involved, when you know you are at fault. For me, I have come to realize that even when I'm at fault, that's when the time to speak up. Truly? Yes. If anything happens and I discover that, oh, I did something wrong, when my husband comes back, so and so thing happened and this is what I did. Did you do that? Yes, I did it. I'm sorry. But if you say that he wasn't there, and so there's no need to talk about it, be sure that one day he will know.
Are you sure?
Sure, one
Sure.
day he will know. And when he knows, then trouble comes. One, he would have lost trust.
Well, marriage is built on trust. Dishonesty has a way of eroding the fabric of trust. When two people who are married don't trust each other, then I don't think there's any reason to get married, to continue that marriage. Because trust. See, let's fight this idea of having to be living with a man that you don't trust because of your children. You must have to deal with it. Don't fight. Don't say, I'm just living with this man. I don't trust him anymore. I don't even trust my life to him anymore because he lies and he never says the truth. Everything he has ever said to me was a lie. Now you are trusting that man on a very dicey grounds, and be sure there are too many things you may not be able to unravel. We have seen that some men who died, and as soon as they are burying the man, 4 or 5 ladies come with children, and the man is dead, and the wife, instead of crying for her husband, her trauma, her pains will increase, because these were the secrets that were kept from her that she didn't know. Now let's talk about this secret thing. Let's make it a little bit plain for ourselves. Is it necessary that you have a phone that your wife does not have the password to that phone? I've heard people say, why should my wife have password to my phone? What is she looking for? She might find something that she may not like. Well, that could also save you. That could also help you. If your wife finds as well, somehow we need to really grow in wisdom and grow in ability to tolerate people and to bear people, because the Bible says love covereth multitude of sins. Now, if you keep this secret from your wife, be sure that one day she will find them. And when she finds them, she's going to lose trust in you. I just remember the film we were watching in my in-laws' house few days ago on our birthday. Both couples were married, and suddenly the guy decided to bring in another woman as his second wife, and the wife didn't fight. He said, okay, if your culture permits you, according to her, the man, he said, my culture permits me to marry as many wives that I want to marry. And he said, okay, why is it that it's a woman that the culture does not benefit? I also believe that I'm a human being. I also have a right to marry. So she went out and also brought a young man as his husband, and they were both living in the house. That is funny. And they were both living in the house. The man with a new wife, and the wife with a new man. That seems very funny, but you know, all these things happen because there was no trust. And when there's dishonesty, be sure that too many things can happen. All right.
Okay. Dishonesty in marriage breeds distrust.
It's a disaster.
Dishonesty in marriage breeds distrust. And of course, when there is no trust in marriage, you know what happens? The center can no longer hold. In fact, for me, at the point where trust ceases in a marriage, that marriage has ceased to exist.
Yeah, sure.
That's the truth. And in fact, the two of you shouldn't even live in the same house. That's the truth. Let's face it. At the point where trust ceases to exist, that marriage has ceased to exist. And the two of you should not be living in the same house, whether you have children or not. Yes, because you have two enemies living in the same house. And anything can happen. Anything can happen. Especially if you are not spirit-controlled individual people. Anything can happen. Anytime trust disappears from a marriage, it is no longer a marriage. It is now two individuals living under the same roof. And that's very dangerous.
And that's why we need to be straight. Let's learn the attitude, the character of straightness. When you make mistake, own up. Own up and also believe that you can be forgiven.
That's right.
Sometimes when men make mistake, you see, when people make mistake, they use mistake to cover mistake.
They use lies to cover it.
And as you are lying and using mistake to cover mistake, you are getting deeper and deeper. Let's take example from David and Uriah's wife. David saw this pretty woman having a bath in her own house. And David lusted after her, commanded his servant to bring her, and had an affair with her. And by the time he realized that she was pregnant, he has to cover up that affair because he knew that it was not going to be pleasant in the eyes of people. And for him to cover it up, he committed murder by sending Uriah to the front fort of wars so that he can be killed. Remember what the prophet came. When the prophet came to him, he gave a parable that there's a king in the land who has plenty sheep. And one man has one only sheep, beautiful sheep that he catered for and cared for. And the king took the sheep, sent the man to death. What shall be done to that man? Now, secrecy. Let's deal with it. Because if you are living a secret life, you are a liar.
That's correct.
Because one way to keep secret life is lying.
Lies, yes.
Is a continuous lying life. And that is not good enough for marriage. Like what we read in Colossians, it says, lie not to one another. That is one of the foundations that we must build upon. Do not lie. Own up. If it's wrong, it's wrong. You can't correct it. Own up.
Yeah.
Now, the danger of these things are too much. It's not just dishonesty alone. The dangers are just too much. We have heard people, if a husband has houses and his wife does not know the locations of those houses, and the man passes on and the properties are taken by somebody else. Now, why is there anything wrong that you actually buy your properties in your names? Now, there is a legal implication in that. You know, some people will say there's a Mr. and Mrs. or culture. Now, we realize that there's a legal implication. Now, a lot of women have suffered so much in the hands of families because of these secrets. The man buys the car in his name, and as soon as the man passes, builds the house in his name, buy all the properties in his name, and as soon as something happens to the man, the families of the man comes around and boot the woman out of the house and throw her on the street with her children. Why? Because the man was not straight enough to deal with his wife.
He was being the man.
He was just being the man. We need to deal with this as Africans.
You just have to be the husband, not the man.
Yeah, you need to. These are things that are very important for us to deal with. Now, if the man has bought those property in their names, the wife has a legal right to those property because her name is in that document.
Yes.
So let's begin to deal with some of those things. And don't keep secrets. Don't keep secrets. Even your phone. Don't keep secret. My wife has my password to my phone. She has my password to all my accounts, all my ATMs. So why should I keep secret? When it comes to finances, the finances belong to us. Management is only what we should discuss. We should discuss how money can be managed in the house for our own betterment. Sometimes, you know, in marriage, one can be a spender, one is somebody who knows how to save. Yeah, keeper. So this, we should draw a line on this and manage all those things. So what's the next one? Keeping marriage secrets is a form of deceit. It's a form of deceit. And there's legal implication in those matters. And some of those things have resulted to breakage in marriage, to divorce. Quite a lot of them. That where you are dating a man, let him know everything. It's like I'm the only person talking.
Go ahead.
Let him know everything. Let him know everything. Tell him everything. There was a case, there's something that happens to us during the COVID. And I had some money, and I felt in my spirit to assist people because my wife runs a women community. And she came and said, let's use this money to assist the women in our environment, at least to rebuild back their businesses. And that we did. Well, it was disaster. It's a very serious disaster that I can't talk about right now. But what I'm going is this. There's a particular lady who came from afar. That is why we say, if you keep secrets, you might be a perpetual liar. Deceit is part of the person's life. She actually lived very far away from me. She lives at Nusada, around that area. But she came to our church, Edu. And she came to our church. Because of the person that brought her, we didn't really investigate so much about where she came from. She wrote an address that is at a little bit far, a little distant from me at Obadore. And we believed her, but not knowing that she was living very far away. Now, where am I heading to? By the time we finally found her, we realized that she had a marital issue. She had a daughter before she met her husband. And she never said it. She never said it. Then secondly, the daughter was living with a family member. Somebody called her and said, come, your daughter is suffering where you kept her. Why won't you just tell your husband and bring the girl to the house? Now, instead of telling her husband that the girl is bringing to the house is her daughter, she didn't say that. She brought the girl to the house like if it was her niece. And the guy began to live in the house until the husband discovered that the girl was her daughter. And that is this around, I don't even know now whether that marriage is still existing. So by the time we met her, she told us, Blaine, please do not tell my husband about this money because we already have a case. The girl was at the hospital sick and her husband didn't show any concern because the woman did not say it. There's nothing wrong if you have a baby, had a baby before as a young lady and you want to marry to a man, and you can tell the man that you have a child. If he wants to marry you, let him marry you. If he doesn't want to marry you, let him go to hell. So let these things be spared out because deceit is very close to us. When you play deceit, like for instance, that alone, an act of deceit can nullify your marriage in the court.
That's true.
Can nullify your marriage. That you didn't tell your husband and your husband discovered a lot of things after marriage. That marriage could be said to be on the platform of deceit and it's non-avoid. So that is why communication is very important. And secondly, deal with the spirit of secrecy.
I want to agree that secrecy is a spirit. It is a spirit. And for you to overcome it, you must consciously, intentionally deal with it. Say to yourself, I will not, because anybody who keeps secrets is a liar. That's the truth. And let me let you know, it takes a lie to cover a lie. The moment you tell first lie, if you're not bold enough to say, oh, that thing I said was a lie, it's not true. You will tell another lie to cover, you will tell another, before you know, you are involved in chains of lies. And that is the reason why we must, especially when our marriages are concerned, we must learn not to tell lies. Do you know that if you nurture a spirit for some time, it becomes a part of you? And you know, some of these things affect the children. Some of it affect the children. You discover that your children are grown up and they are lying. And you're wondering, where is this coming from? Look at yourself very well. Ask yourself certain questions. Look at yourself very well. And you have to take deliberate steps, efforts to repent of that. Then start working on your children. Let them know that they must not tell lies. And if you get them telling lies, please don't beat. You can discipline, but not all the time. Help them to walk out of lying. That's it. Well, after you have dealt with yourself.
Yeah, after you have. So naturally, I said in one of our broadcasts that it is difficult to change people if you have not started changing yourself. You need to start the changes from yourself. Now, one thing that happens in marriages is that sometimes the man wants to change the wife, and the wife wants to change the man. No, sometimes you have to deal with yourself first. When you change, you just realize the person you are relating with and you are married to will suddenly begin to change. It happens to us, and I can tell you that we are testimonies of that. We began to change. All of us, we took a decision to change. Yeah. And that changes that took place in our lives helps us individually to change. Now, like she said, if you keep a secret for a while, it will be very difficult to see
harder.
it later. So that is why in marriages, please do not keep secrets. Communicate. Sometimes when you say these things, it might be hurting, but time will work on it.
That's true.
Time works on it. Apologize. Promise that it will not happen again and begin to work at it. Now, because if you don't do that, you are laying a very wrong foundation for the family. Because these things are spirits. Like we said, it's spirits. They jump from one person to another. I was listening to one preacher, very popular preacher in Lagos. He said when he was growing up that he hates to bath. So when his parents sent him to the bedroom to bath, he would just play with the water, throw it upstairs and flow it like if he's bathing, come out like if he has had his bath. And they will all believe that he had his bath. He said after he got married and gave birth to his son, and his son started behaving the same way. He was like, go and have your bath. He said, no, yes, daddy, yes, daddy. He goes to the bathroom, and he kept throwing the water. So one day he remembered that, well, I used to do this thing. Yes. Let me go and spy at this, my son. By the time he opened the bathroom, he met his son sitting on the bathtub, throwing the water up and down.
He said what drew his attention was because he was doing it.
Yes.
And so when he began to hear the
water thrown up, waterfalls, he just realized, this
could be what I used to do.
This boy is replicating what I used to do. So that was how he was able to decide to peep and he saw. So most times, you see, there are a lot of things we should do as couples because these things affect us. These things actually affect us a lot. So let's be careful not to do a lot of these things. So, one of the most dangerous aspects of keeping secrets, when these secrets are finally revealed, it's a hotbed of betrayal. A hotbed of betrayal. We go through the internet and we see a lot of discussions between married couples. This one said, he betrayed me, so I can't continue this marriage again. We need to be careful with that. Betrayal is very, very painful. It's like stabbing somebody at the back. Yeah. Stabbing somebody at the back. That you are married and yet you are still dating other small girls outside and you are sleeping with them over there and you know what I'm talking about. And your wife is so committed to you. Your wife is so committed to you. Or your husband is so committed to you. But you are forking with a lot of things. Now, by the time these things are revealed, it's like a stab at the back. It's called betrayal.
Most times, it's difficult to survive. Most times. When you betray your spouse, at the point of realization, it's usually difficult to survive. Most of them just walk away. And the marriage, the union ends there. And that's not the best, especially when children are involved.
Wow. What happens is this, that when you are sincere and open, you actually breed between your partner, you promote trust and honesty.
Yeah.
Now, if you can succeed in this, be sure that you have a blissful marriage. Build trust and honesty. Be sincere. Say it the way it is. Deal with it.
For the main folk, the reason I'm calling the main folk is simple. Because usually women are very accommodating. Most women are accommodating. If you find out that the person you're dating has had a child before, please don't walk away. Don't. Because the moment you walk away, you have just told the person that he's worthless. Please don't walk away. Consider that child your child. And the same to women. The reason I'm saying, the reason I'm saying this is because I realize that women keep a lot of secrets. Yes, I'm a woman and I can tell you. Women keep a lot of secrets, and sometimes the reason could be that they're afraid of the man, or they don't want to be screamed at, or they don't want judgments. Okay, so it drives them to keeping things to themselves. But that's why I'm begging you right now. As a pastor, I'm begging you. If your wife wakes up tomorrow and starts saying things to you that she has never said to you, please do not condemn. Please do not judge. Please do not scream. Please do not react negatively. Just give her a listening ear. If there are things that offend you that you heard, find a simpler way of saying it, that this one hurts. You know, and I'm sure she'll be sorry about it. I'm sure she'll find a way to make it up to you. Please don't be brutal, please.
Yeah, I like
so
this.
That, yes.
I like the appeal.
So that, yes, I'm appealing because I'm a woman and I know that by nature we are deep. That's how God made us. Every woman has depth inside of her. And she can keep things, even the things you do not expect, she can keep it. And so in case she watches this broadcast and feels remorse and starts saying things to you, please be kind.
Well, I want to accept that because, you know, in these discussions, we are permitted to have different opinions. I believe that, and because it will help us a lot. Well, I want to accept that because every man is differently wired.
That's correct.
Women are differently wired from men, and men are differently wired from women. So, if I have to accept that, then I will also say it should be extended to the main folk.
For sure.
If peradventure that after a while, or maybe they bump into this teaching, into this discussion, and they realize, oh man, I shouldn't have been secretive. Honey, I built a house in Abuja. This is the address. Honey, I have a car parked somewhere. This is where it is. Honey, I have 20 million in one of my accounts. This is a pin. How do we manage that? And begin to try to reconstruct and refurbish your relationship. Please be patient.
Sure.
Be patient because it's going to end up in praise for you. It's going to end up building a better relationship and a better marriage.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I will also cancel, please. The scripture said that two became one and they were naked without being ashamed.
No shame.
Build it from the very beginning.
Yes.
Learn to talk. As I was growing up as a kid, I can tell you I was not a talkative. I could stay with people I could even live with Satan. But you know, when you get married and you start having kids, you just need to talk. You just need to keep talking because that is the only way that you can actually pass across the information. Learn to talk. And I gradually learned to talk because from my heart of heart, I don't really have too many friends. My wife is my best friend. She is the one that spends all the time with me. She's on my bed. Let me say this jokingly. Sometimes my wife will tell me something. I say, "Wow, you mean you are sleeping on this bed with me and you have never said this to me?" We talked about it, you know. Sometimes when we were growing up, we had quarrels over these matters. But now we really don't quarrel over these matters because we have come to understand that we are wired differently. Anytime she owns something, I say, "I'll come." Something like that happened. I'll say, "Okay, all right. I hope it ends up well." At the end of the day, because sometimes we take decisions that we don't consult our wife and we don't communicate to our wives, but at the end of the day, they still become the shoulder that we cry onto. So I would say this: let communication be like a very important virtue among couples. Learn to communicate. Say everything. Say everything. Say everything. Allow your wife to pick your calls. It will help you. It will help you. Let me say this. I'm a missionary. For several years of my life, I was into the mission field. I've been to some African countries.
Still a missionary.
And I'm still a missionary, you know. I love missions. I've been to African countries. I remember after getting married, and we came back, I left her here in Nigeria. Sorry for that. Somebody is actually calling this line and is distracting this broadcast. So I met this young lady in the church, and first thing I did, I was alone in the Gambia. As a married man, I was alone. So what I did to save myself, after a little bit of harassment, I had to call my wife. And I told my wife, I said, come, something is going on here in the Gambia. You know I'm alone. This is it, this is it, this is it. Start praying for me. The fact that I called her alone was a check on me. I'm sure that if I have kept that secret, I don't know what will have happened. As much as I don't really have women problem. But anyhow, when you are pressurized by a woman, you may lose your guide sometimes. But for the fact that I called my wife and I told her, and I kept talking to my wife on text, on messages, what was going on, and that kept me strong. So learn to talk to your wife. Wife, learn to talk to your husband. I remember my wife came in one day and said, a guy just dropped me up at the gates. I said, wow, that is beautiful. I may have taken care of you so much that you are still looking beautiful that somebody can chase you. We laughed over it because she said it. Now, what if at the end of the day she didn't say it and the neighbor saw somebody dropping her off, and Monday I'm walking out and say, look at this man. Your wife is just being carried by another man. It would be shocking. But when she came, I said, somebody just dropped me out. I said, what happened? He said, the guy met me. She actually went to one of these supermarkets to buy things. She told me we are going to buy some things. And I said, okay, go and get those things. And on her way, she met the guy. And the guy said, wow, fine woman. Can I take you? She said, okay. She went there, bought the things. I said, I want to know your house. By the time they got to the gate and realized that we are living inside the church. And she said, the man said, you live inside the church? She said, are you a pastor's wife? My wife said, yes. So as soon as she came in, she told me, she said, this is just the experience I had just now.
And I invited him to church.
And invited the man to church. And at the end of the day, what I said was simple, because she said it to me. I said, it's a proof that I'm still doing very well. I'm taking good care of you. Now, if you were looking ugly, I'm sure that no man will talk to you. We laughed over it because she said it. So let's learn to communicate. Because if you don't communicate and you keep a lot of secrets, it may boomerang on you.
Yes.
It will boomerang on you. Because the day you have issues and your wife doesn't have your PIN number for your ATM, oh God, there'll be trouble. Yeah. Or she can't access your phone to call a doctor. Then you are in trouble.
Call your siblings.
Or call your siblings. Or call somebody to help. Does not know the password to your phone because you are keeping secrets. Now you are is detrimental to your own life. The same way it goes to the woman. Let your husband know the PIN number to your phone.
Don't hide anything.
Let him pick your calls. Sometimes people call my wife. I pick the call, and the person on the other side is a male. Yeah. And I say, hello, who is there? I say, oh, can I? Good afternoon, sir. I want to talk to Madam Amaka. I say, oh, no problem. Just give me a few minutes. I'll call her. Come and take your phone. They talk, and that is all. Because there is this build of trust based on honesty, based on communication, straight communication. Hallelujah. I wish you permit me to say praise the Lord. I hope we are making some sense to you. You know, I sometimes want to make this broadcast very lively and a little bit funny so that you can enjoy it.
From next week, we're going to be leaving a number here for you to call in case you want to call. In case you have anything, we'll give you another phone number so that while we're on set, or maybe even after the broadcast, you want to reach us, you can reach us anytime, any day.
I want to conclude on this. I spoke more today. We want to conclude that relationships are damaged by lies, and couples grow apart even when they live in their house. They live together in a big duplex. They live together in a 2-bedroom flat. Whatever they live together, they live apart. Yeah. They are in the same house. They live apart. It affects your kids. It affects your children.
Very much.
Sometimes you will think that they don't know what is going on. They do. Yeah, they do. Know. And you are not giving the right example to your children, because by the time they get married, such things will replicate in their marriages. That's right. So let's deal with the matter of lying to ourselves. You can go back and read Colossians chapter 3 verse 9. He said we should not lie to each other. Let's believe the word of the Lord and let it become our guide. It's hard to feel emotionally connected to someone when you catch them in a lie or find out that they kept secrets from you.
From you. Very difficult.
Sometimes we have to struggle through it.
Yeah.
So let's learn to break this spirit, this chain of deceit, the chain of dishonesty in relationship. We conclude by saying they were both naked and they were not ashamed of anything.
Yeah. Do you know the day I've been married, I was married for years, but that statement didn't make meaning to me. But the day it made meaning, I was like, wow. And they were both naked and were not ashamed. Wow. It ministered to me. And I took a step towards the right direction. And I believe that you can do the same too.
Sure.
You can do the same. You see, when there's no secrecy in your marriage, the marriage becomes sweet. I know there's a lot of divorce going on air, a lot of celebrities that people are following, a lot of role models are growing apart, calling it quits in their marriages. But the truth is, marriage is sweet. And, for you to know that marriage is sweet, even after the divorce, they are still looking forward to getting married. They are looking for the next person to get married to. That's how you know that marriage is good. Because if it wasn't good, they won't be looking for someone else to get married. Some of them have been married 2-3 times. If marriage wasn't sweet, what are they looking for in marriage? What would they be looking for? So please, do yourself some favor. Do your relationship favor. Do your children a favor by being open to yourselves and loving yourself just like you should.
Thank you so much. My last counsel is simple. Read. Read about marriage. There are a lot of books out there. There are a lot of books on the internet. Instead of going to watch all these dirty things you watch, read. Take out time in your office when you are off time at work. Type. Sometimes I do it when I'm alone. I just take my phone and I will type something that has been bothering me. How do I survive with so person? How do I handle such character? All these things. As a pastor, I also do a lot of this. How do I deal with a toxic member? I learn these things. So you can also learn this thing because sometimes we have to be trained. We have to learn these things to practice them.
Yes.
Don't assume that you know. Get books on marriage.
Exactly.
Watch this kind of brokers. Introduce your friend to it. Share it. Share it. Download it and play it to your spouse if they couldn't watch it. Because we have learned so much from other people. And even as we are talking to you, we are also learning.
That's
we are
correct.
growing.
Yes.
We are not just saying this thing to you because we are perfect. We are saying them to you because we also want to learn. We are also in the same school with you. And we want you to understand that if we can deliberately follow these things, if we can deliberately deal with these matters of lack of communication, secrecy, that builds dishonesty, distrust, that end up destroying our marriages, you'll discover that it will be very difficult to hear that there is divorce. Because if we do that, we are not just helping the society, we are helping ourselves. Let me let you know that God who planned marriage to develop societies. It is when the marriage work that the societies work. It is when the marriage work that the children works. The children character work. They are being able to lead tomorrow is prepared. So thank you so much for watching. Those of you who are watching and those of you who will watch later. I want to pray that these little brokers will make a change and a difference in your marriage and your relationship. God bless you.
God bless you. I'll see you next Sunday.